Hey guys, I'm Angela and welcome back to Hobby Night. Today I'm going over my top 10 favorite things from 2021. It's the end of the year. We're starting to go into 2022. In fact, I think this video comes out either on the day before or the day of the new year. So I figured, why not take a look back at some of the positive things that happened in 2021 and go through some of my favorite things. Things that I've watched, things that I've played, things that I've gone, places that I've gone to. Basically, I wanted to sort of categorize this list, do a top 10, but they're all gonna be different categories and there'll be a different subject for each one. And I'm really excited for this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into number 10. And my number 10 thing is, what is my favorite game store? Well, game stores are the heart of our community, right? I've been to quite a number over my years, but none have astounded me more than Games of Berkeley. Now, I do have a little bit of bias towards this because I did, in fact, used to work for them. But beyond my own contributions to that store, I just want to compliment the staff about how amazing they are, how welcoming they are. I want to compliment the community, which I look forward to being a bigger part of this coming year because they are also incredibly welcoming. They play a diverse range of games at the store. There are constantly events happening, and the staff is always working and looking to add new events that work with the community and what you guys are wanting. So, and I just think that is insane because like, I know a lot of game stores do this, but I've never seen one so large or just honestly, just constantly active. There are constantly people in that store, which is crazy considering there have been mask restrictions and all of the COVID restrictions and everything. But Games of Berkeley has pulled through, kept everybody safe, and still given everybody a place to play. And that just constantly astounds me, and I can't wait to see more of it in 2022. Sticking to the board gaming theme, with number 9, I want to talk about my favorite board game because, like, I mean, you guys, I have a massive collection of board games, and this year I've actually gotten to play a lot more of them. We've actually burned through quite a number of these games, but my favorite by far was Tiny Epic Dinosaur. Now, I've talked a little bit about the Tiny Epic franchise before because I just find them adorable and very convenient to travel around with. Not that I've been actually doing much traveling right now, but of all of the like board games that I've been playing off the shelf, especially the ones with adorable animal meeples, this has been my favorite. The meeples are super cute. The colors are fantastic. The mechanics all work really well. I constantly feel like I'm doing something in this game, despite the fact that it comes in a tiny package and really doesn't feel like it's going to feel like a really big game. But it does, and it's really cool. And once I can travel again, this is one that I'm definitely going to be bringing around with me, and probably honestly some of the other Tiny Epics, but definitely this one because I just really, really love the theme. All right, we're moving into a slightly different category now because now I want to talk about my favorite show of the year. And there were quite a few fantastic shows this year, but the one that stood out to me honestly the most, even over stuff like The Mandalorian and a couple other things, was Arcane. Now, I am not a huge League of Legends player or fan. I've actually know very little about the show or about the games, but the show looked phenomenal when I was seeing the previews. The art was gorgeous, and being somebody who went to art school for, you know, in their youth and everything, and just being really into color and animation, I had to watch this. It was on Netflix and I was like, sure, I've got that. Let me go ahead and take a peek. I fell in love immediately. Like, the world's really cool. I think that they've done a great job building it up. The characters are complex. They have genuine emotions. They are more than two-dimensional, which is fantastic. And their designs are gorgeous. In particular, I'm a huge fan of Silco. He's probably my favorite male character. And then I, of course, love Jinx. Who doesn't love Jinx? She's amazing. But the standout character that I was really kind of shocked to find that I loved like a huge amount was V. Now, part of this was because I just love her attitude. I think she's fantastic. But it's also partially because of that stellar animation that the team making this put together, because her boxing scenes, regardless of whether or not it was her just shadow boxing with the like training bot or if she was actually punching people's faces in, it was just so well done. And you guys probably know I'm a massive pro wrestling fan, and while it's not one-to-one, there's enough overlap, and I greatly appreciate a good striker. Some of my favorite wrestlers are honestly, Hook right now, who's relatively new, but he's a great striker. I really like Aleister Black, who's a pretty strong striker. And I thought it was really cool. So when I saw V really doing these like amazing things where it looked genuinely like boxing, it encouraged me to pick up some boxing gloves of my own. Chaos Cultist! Grab them for me if you can.
Oh God, why did you not do this?
Why did I not warn you? Well, because I don't know. I mean like that. But I really got into boxing, and I've always actually been kind of into it. I've always wanted to do it as an exercise because I wanted something to make me feel strong. I really like striking. So I got some boxing gloves, and you guys are probably gonna see this on my Instagram later this year where I'll be like doing more of this. I want to get into some classes. I just think it's gonna be really cool. And honestly, Arcane seriously inspired that. Like, it's just that cool. It has so much going on for it. I would definitely recommend watching it if you haven't already. It's that time of the video where I interrupt to tell you about my Patreon and to let you know that we just added a Discord server which all tiers get access to. So if you're wanting a way to chat with me, share with me your projects, or just tell me what board games you're playing, definitely make sure to check the link below and check out my Patreon. All right, since we mentioned it in the last one, we're gonna talk about my all-time favorite match, pro wrestling match of the year. There was a lot of really good pro wrestling this year, you guys, but by far, the match that just had me on the edge of my seat was the Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks in a cage at All Out this year. It was epic. Okay, let me just go over the reasons that I love it. One, love both the teams. Lucha Brothers are honestly one of my top teams right now, and I love the Young Bucks. I've been following them for years. Everything that they do is fantastic. Those men just constantly put in the work. The outfits everybody was wearing for this, between the entrance gear that the Lucha Brothers have with the really awesome masks, the fact that the Young Bucks just looked sharp, they're doing that whole drip thing, and they're doing everything with the Jordans right now, and it just kills me. The entrance itself for the Lucha Brothers blew my mind because it was the first time that I'd learned that I knew Ruckus had written or had done the music for the Lucha Brothers theme song, but I didn't actually know that Alex, the man that walks down to the ring with them, also worked on the song and actually did some of the rapping in it. And so I found this out at this show, and it just made me love the entire group even more. Plus, the match itself was freaking phenomenal. It went, I think, a full 30 minutes. There was blood. I really thought Penta had gotten seriously injured at one point because he was just pouring blood from his face, but it made it that much more intense. There was constant brotherly love in this match, which I also love because both teams are legitimate brothers to each other. So there was just familial passion there, and it was so cool to see. And then on top of it all, the best part was, spoilers, that the Lucha Brothers won the tag team championships, and that's who I wanted to win. I wanted to see them rip it away from the Young Bucks, and so they did. So overall, the match was just absolutely phenomenal and definitely made it to my favorite match of the year. Sticking with the wrestling theme, I now want to talk about my favorite pro wrestler of the year. And you might think, oh, well, this is gonna be the Lucha Brothers. Well, it's not. It's not. I'm not cheaping out like that and just using the guys twice. My actual favorite wrestler of the year is the American Dragon, Daniel Bryanson, or formerly as he was known in WWE earlier in the year, Bryan Daniel. Bryan Daniel. I have to give you guys some context of why he's my favorite wrestler. I mean, he's just had a phenomenal year, having worked both for WWE and AEW, doing nothing but top tier matches with everybody and just being in so many phenomenal matches throughout this year. But the main reason I actually put him on this list, despite the fact that I feel like a lot of people are putting him on their top, favorite wrestler of the year lists, is the fact that when I first was introduced to pro wrestling, Bryan Daniel was one of the characters that I saw first. The very first match I ever watched was the WrestleMania match where he was squashed by Sheamus in 18 seconds. So to see, oh my God, it was so bad.
On a bad Pirates.
It was so bad. But he made an impression even in that. Then when I actually got introduced more into WWE's content and actually started getting into it, I looked up his Yes movement, which I had missed in my career and everything, or in my like fandom of pro wrestling. But I looked into it and then I saw everything that he was doing up until that point. And then I saw him retire because of the neck injury and then come back miraculously. And it was great. And so like just to see his journey and then actually get to experience the devastation that is the American Dragon character for Bryan Danielson, I love it. He is amazing. I cannot wait to see him continue to work and do great matches with everybody. I can't wait for when Kenny Omega comes back and they can have a rematch. I can't wait for him to go after Hangman Adam Page again. And I can't wait to see him continue to do matches with literally anybody. He is just so good. I just love him as a pro wrestler, and I just hope he keeps going forever. For my number 5 pick, I want to talk about my favorite toy of the year, because if you've been following this channel for any amount of time, you know that I've recently gotten into toy collecting, and I've acquired quite a number of things. But I'll have you know that my favorite toy is not, in fact, a pro wrestling figure, which I thought maybe a lot of people might think it is. What it is, in fact, is this Morpher. Look how cool it is. Let me do that one more time. It's so cool. So this Morpher is not only hyper nostalgic for not only myself, but the Chaos Cultists as well, because both of us were massive Power Ranger fans when we were kids. I went to live shows. I had a bunch of the toys. I constantly dressed up as them. I'm pretty sure I had multiple battles against my sister because I think I made her a putty often when I was a ranger, and then I had to make her a ranger after that. But that's how it went and everything. But basically the point is I'm a massive Power Ranger fan, and so is he. And we got this Morpher. Now this is not one of the OG Morphers. This is one of the ones from I think the 2000s,
yes,
right?
So for those of you who know toys and are wondering, that is a legacy Morpher.
Yes.
That came out, I should say in the 2000s.
Which is why we took it out of its box, because we did have it in its box, but we were like, screw that, we want to play with it.
But it also has all 5 of the metal power.
It does. I put Kimberly's in though because she was my favorite. I mean, Tommy was my favorite because he was dreamy, but Kimberly was my other favorite. So I put that one in here for right now. But I have a funny story about this particular Morpher because it actually ties.
You call it funny?
Well, it's funny in hindsight, but not funny at the time.
It's the worst nap of my life.
It was the worst nap of his life. So, story about this Morpher. We went and bought it actually relatively recently. I'll give you a clue as to the day it was. It was the day we got into a wreck. This is actually what we were bringing home the day that I got into a car accident recently, and it was terrifying. Thankfully, the Morpher and myself and my husband were all fine. No permanent damage was done except to our car, which thankfully we've gotten a new one at this point. But this toy is now going to forever live both in my brain and heart as something that I love, and also go, oh man, I lost McKay to that. Well, I guess that's fine. McKay is the name of my old car. And I mean, I got the Razor Crest instead, and it's a lot nicer of a car, but this is always gonna have a place for me, and which is why I put it on this list. My number 4 favorite thing is a YouTube channel, specifically the Underworlds Bard YouTube channel. Now, I want to talk about them because 1, they're my friends and they're awesome and they've had me on the channel a few times, which is partially why I put them on this list. But the actual main reason that I've put Underworlds Bard on this list is because one of the things that actually got me into board gaming originally really opened up my eyes to the variety of games that were out there before I'd really started working at the game store, even really found it, was watching Tabletop by Will Wheaton on Geek and Sundry. And when I saw that Adam launched Underworlds Bard, and the energy that they were having with their Let's Plays of actually playing through board games with friends and everything, it immediately reminded me of the energy of the early seasons of Tabletop. And as that was something that brought a lot of joy to my life back in the day, it was exceptional to see somebody trying to take up that mantle. And I genuinely think they're doing a great job with it. Like, they are doing a variety of different board game shows on the channel. They not only do playthroughs of games with friends that are constantly hilarious and have a lot of in-jokes and everything, but honestly, they're easy to pick up, and it's just a really funny team to watch play board games. But they also do top 10 lists. They go over the history of board games. It's a really superb channel. So if you haven't already, I would highly encourage you to subscribe. Plus, I get to play games with them sometimes, so you'll even see me on their content. In fact, I would like to call out specifically our recent Blood on the Clock Tower episode. It's great. I get to have the bolter in it as a prop, which is perfect for me, and I just would highly encourage you to check them out. All right, we're down to our last 3 items, and we're gonna go a little bit more personal with them. So the first thing is going to be my favorite Games Workshop release or Warhammer release from the year. Now, I think honestly, this was a really hard decision because there was a lot of really cool kits out there, but I think ultimately the one that I ended up picking was the Starblood Stalkers Underworld kit from earlier this year. It's the one with all the lizard men in it, and I absolutely love that set. I mean, in general, I just want to shout out the Underworld kits overall, because I think all of them are fantastic. And if you're wanting a a small paint project in between your larger projects, they're great for that. But the reason I specifically called out the Stalkers is because, one, I've never painted lizardmen before, and they were so much fun. The Chameleon, which is what I painted on camera from that set, was one of my earliest big hit videos for painting videos, which was really cool to see. But it's also one of the sets that I've actually fully painted up. I did do that with the help of the Chaos Cultists, but the thing that was really cool about it was we got to play with a lot of color. This was one of the first times, and I think I even talked about this a little bit on my last mini video that I talked about, but the Chameleon and that set in general was one of the times where I really started to explore how the colors could be used on top of each other for contrast paint, how you could push their boldness, and what they could be doing with dry brushing added on over top. And so that was my first real exploration of doing a lot of that, and these models really helped go, oh, this is a lot of fun. I can do this on a lot of different things. And I think from there, it really improved my painting style. Plus, they were just a joy to paint. Like, they were all unique sculpts. Like, they had a lot of bits and everything going on. Plus, I just love painting lizard skin with contrast paint. It's so, so satisfying. My number 2 thing is my favorite video on the channel. I've made a lot of videos this year. We've even done some longer ones, some shorter ones. There's been a variety of different styles, but ultimately my favorite video this year was the Going Kommando, where I painted up an orc commando. I love how that model turned out. The entire painting process for that model was very smooth, so filming went really easily. But the thing that I actually like the most about that video is the skit at the very beginning. It was a blast to film. Not only did I get to have Chaos Cultist actually on camera, where I got to murder him again, because that is an ongoing theme on this channel, but it really does. It really does. But I have a lot of fun with it. It's always a joy. But the thing that I really liked about it the most was just doing dumb stuff down my hallway to make it look like I was sneaking down in a very not sneaky way. It was so much fun. I really look forward to doing more skits in the future as the channel continues to grow. And now that we have a little bit more flexibility to do so, I'm hoping that that's going to be a thing going forward. But that's why I ended up putting the Kommando on this list. We're down to number 1, and I don't have a really good intro for it, but we're a miniatures channel. So I'm going to talk about my favorite miniatures of the year. And honestly, I was able to narrow this list down pretty quickly, and then it was excruciating to actually pick the final model that I was going to talk about. Some of my runner-ups were definitely Abaddon the Despoiler, my Squig Rider that I did very recently, and honestly, still the Spy Ranks wasn't done this year, so it wouldn't have been able to be on here, but it's fine, it didn't make the list anyways, because the winner of my favorite model of the year ended up being Mozrog. I just had so much fun painting this model. He turned out spectacularly. I got to use a ton of techniques that I absolutely adore to work with. I got to dry brush a lot on him. I got to do some glazing, which I really enjoy. It was a bunch of colors that I enjoy working with. I did actually end up using a mix of both contrast paint and opaque paints on this one, which was cool because that's something that I wasn't really doing at the beginning of the lifespan of this channel, and definitely not as much at the beginning of this year, and it's something I kind of grew into. So that was really cool to see, and I'm just overall incredibly pleased with him. Oh, also his base was something that I was really proud of because I actually had to make that base match some pre-existing, pre-done bases that I'd already been using on the army. And when I realized that there wasn't one that fit his base size, I was like, crap, what am I gonna do? But I ended up finding some pieces that worked. I found some textured paints that would work and all of this kind of thing. Plus I was able to play around with the grasses that I've been doing on all of the terrain and everything. So I'm overall just incredibly happy with how that model turned out. And I would love to know what you guys think is my best model of the year. I definitely think it's Mozrog, but I mean, Abaddon's up there, isn't he? He would be a cool one as well. Now, that has been it for this episode. I've been rambling about my top favorite things from 2021 for quite a while now. I hope you guys have all enjoyed it and are looking forward to more content next year. Before I head out, I do want to give a massive thank you to my patrons for supporting me and allowing content like this to be made. If you'd like to join them, you can find a link down in the description below where we have a brand new Discord server. But in the meantime, I have been Angela. I hope you guys all have a fantastic 2022, and I hope that your 2021 was pretty swell as well. Tell me about it down in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!